cave swallowed him whole. What began as an innocent adventure, a hike across the rugged African highlands, where the rocks blazed golden under the sun, had ended in darkness. He had taken the wrong turn, stepped on a loose stone, and before his voice could echo for help, he had fallen deep into a jagged hollow. The silence that followed was suffocating. At first, he told himself it would not be long. Someone would come. His footsteps had been noticed. His disappearance would raise alarm. He clung to the thought like a man clinging to breath, whispering to the walls of the cave that everything would be fine. But the hours melted into days, and hunger became a slow, sharp blade carving through his insides. He drank what little he could from the trickle of damp stone, pressing his cracked lips against the cold surface until drops gathered on his tongue. It was bitter, metallic, but it kept his throat from tearing apart with thirst. His stomach, however, knew no relief. The ache grew unbearable. His ribs pressed against his skin like daggers, his belly caved in, and weakness dragged at his bones. In the silent dark, thoughts became louder than screams. He remembered laughter around fires, the taste of roasted maize, the sweetness of ripe mangoes, the way warm bread crumbled between his fingers. Each memory was torture, more piercing than the jagged rocks beneath him. He wept silently, tears falling into the dust that would not hold them. On the third day, madness began its slow creep. He saw shapes that weren't there, shadows of rescuers, beams of light, even the faint outline of an outstretched hand. But every time he reached forward, he touched nothing but the damp wall. The cave mocked him with silence. Hunger gnawed until his body demanded an answer. He looked at his trembling hand, thin, trembling, alive yet useless. The thought came uninvited, like a whisper from the void. The body feeds itself. He recoiled at first, horrified, clutching his arm to his chest as if to protect it from his own mind. But the whisper returned, persistent, cold, logical. Flesh is flesh. Survival is survival. Tears blurred his vision as he pressed a sharp stone against his skin. The first cut burned like fire, pain searing through him, echoing against the cave walls in a muffled groan. Blood pooled, hot and metallic, filling the air with an iron stench. He brought the piece of himself to his lips, trembling as though the act would call down judgment from the heavens. The taste was both salvation and horror. He chewed slowly, gagging, his body revolting against the act even as his stomach received it, like a prayer. Every bite was shame, every swallow a silent scream. But it gave him strength enough to breathe another hour, another day. He lived in a cycle of agony, feeding on his own body, hating himself, then pleading with God for forgiveness. As the days bled together, his body grew weaker, his spirit dimmer. He sang softly to himself in the darkness. Old songs of comfort, hymns of hope, the lullabies his mother once whispered under starlight. His voice cracked and faltered, but it kept him from disappearing into silence. And then, just as the cave seemed to have claimed him completely, he heard it. A faint rumble, a call, voices echoing down the passage. Light pierced the darkness, bright and blinding, falling across his broken frame. For the first time in days, he smiled. Help had come, but fate is cruel. By then, his body had already surrendered. His breath was shallow, his pulse fragile, his eyes heavy with the weight of exhaustion. He tried to lift a hand toward the rescuers, tried to call out, but only a rasp escaped his throat. Relief filled his eyes, shining with the last spark of hope. But it was too late. By the time the rescuers reached him, his chest had stilled. His body, frail and torn by desperation, lay in silence. cave echoed only with the cries of those who had come too late. They found him with his arm wrapped around himself, as if shielding what little remained of his dignity. Above ground, the world carried on. Wind sweeping the hills, birds slicing the sky, the sun blazing over the land. The earth did not pause for his suffering. Yet in the dark belly of the cave, a story of hunger, survival, and tragedy lay etched forever in silence. He had fought to live. He had endured the unthinkable. And though he died moments before salvation touched him, his struggle remained a testament to the cruelty of fate and to the desperate, unyielding will of a soul that refused to surrender until the very last breath.